Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of the Bookmark podcast. I am Riganka,
I'm Kasturi.
and we talk about books.
So, in today's episode, we're going to discuss the six most trending questions that we see about books over the internet. So, starting with the first question, is romantasy overrated? So, would you like to go first, Miranda?
First of all, it's a genre that is very close to you, so I'm
Yeah,
surprised
I
that I
know.
am getting the first go. But I'll still try. First of all, let me clarify because a lot of people think that romantasy is all about romantic things in a fantasy world, but it is not always that. Like the way a Sarah J. Maas writes her book, it's not about the romantic part. It is also about world building. It is also about a story, and it has a bit of the romantic part in the book, but it is not the entire book. So I think when I
Sure.
look at it from that perspective, I don't think it's overrated because I'll give you an example. There are many books, like if you look at any world building books, let's just say like a very popular book, the Witcher series. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
a book, a game, and a TV series, right? And if you look at it, it also talks about the protagonist Geralt and his relationship with Yennefer, right?
Yeah.
Who is a witch. So essentially, that is also a romantasy because it has the romantic bits and it is a world which is very mystical or something like that, right? So I don't think it's overrated because a good romantasy series is written so well and it has heart in it. When you talk
Yeah.
about the romantic side of any story, I think it has heart. And
Hmm.
I think that matters the most. And that is what drives people to actually read the book. So I do not think it's overrated. What do you think? Because you are the master of this genre. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think you are correct that this question is really, really close to my heart because I started with uh, romantasy novel. But coming back to the question, I don't think, of course, it is not overrated, but every question has two sides.
Two meanings.
Yeah, two meanings. So the first is, if a romantasy is heavily focused only on the romance, then it gets like, it is something that is not so interesting. I'll tell you why.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
if you're writing a romantasy novel, there has to be a proper world building with characters written and their character arcs written in a way that will get you hooked. And if it is
Correct.
only focused on romance and not the fantasy part of it, it gets monotonous. Okay, so that's why someone asks me how to go about a romantasy, if it is overrated, and I'll say no. But if an author is writing a very heavy romance based fantasy novel, but then yes, it can be overrated. But being a fan of romantasy, I'll always love it anyways.
No, I
So
think I think you brought up a very good point that
yeah,
if it actually involves a world building, if the romantic side of the story is written into it,
yeah.
then it makes sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it's just for the heck of it. And I know that we talk about
It
this a lot.
gets
That
boring. You don't
it
like
gets
to
boring.
read
Yeah.
so much of romance into it because
Hmm.
people are crazy when you see romantasy bookstagrammers. People go crazy about yearning, slow burn. Yes, it looks good, but if you stretches the slow burn, if you stretches the yearning, at some point your readers are gonna lose the interest on these characters, also and also the world building.
Correct, correct. It should be built into the story. It should not
Yeah,
be forced.
yeah.
I think we have talked about this a lot, right? That in a lot of TV series, we feel that the romantic side is very like it is pushed into the story, and
Yeah,
it does not
yeah,
actually make sense. It could have done without it, uh, but it's still pushed into it, which is weird, and we do not like it. So
we do
I
not
think I
like
think
it.
that's our answer for this question.
Yes,
What is the
I
next
think
question?
we
I'm
did
very
answer.
curious.
All right, coming back to our next question. Should I push through a slow burn book or DNF it? So for people who don't know what DNF is, it is did not finish in a bookish term. Um, okay. Also, if many of you don't know what slow burn is, so slow burn books are basically books that takes their sweet time to gradually get to the plot. All right. giving you a very simple example. If it's an enemies to lover book, if it is a slow burn, then it will take all the way to the last book to get the characters finally together. Now, coming back to
And
the
nothing even happens during that time. It's very
no,
boring. Yeah.
and it will take 4 books, the entire story. I mean, it's from the beginning, you know that they are going to end together. Why not just I I read books by Rebecca Yarros, who's the author of Fourth Wing, of course Sarah J. Maas, and I've seen those authors. They know that these characters are going to end up together, and then okay, in the first book they'll just make them meet each other, meet enemies to lover, and then you know that okay, this is going to happen. But if I come back to the question regarding a slow burn book, I myself am gonna DNF it. If it is taking an author to 4 books to even get the whole character arc, I am gonna DNF it because you if it is not interesting, there are a lot of other books to explore. So you should
Correct.
definitely skip it, DNF it, and just go for other books. How about you?
And no, if, I think what you said makes absolute sense, because like, firstly, I think this is a line that you normally say, that life is too short to actually read bad books. And it makes sense, because I'll give you two examples, and then I'll give you the conclusion of this particular question. So I read this book called Sea of Poppies. It's by Amitabh Ghosh. Again, I relatively read it at a very younger age, and I found it very slow. Again, controversial opinion, but
Yeah.
found it very, very slow. Had to finish it because there was an assignment associated with it. So I think in that case, for me, it was like, I went through it, but it took some time, because ideally you and I, we are like non-humans when it comes to finishing off books that we like. We have done
Yeah.
500, 600 pages in like one day. And so, but that book, I just could not. It took me a month, probably 2 pages or something each day, and it was very boring. Okay. And there are other books also which I could not really finish because of one thing or the other, and I'll give you an example here as well. So there's a book called The War of Lanka. So it's that Ramayana series by Amish Tripathi. So it
Yeah.
has a first book called The Scion of Ishpaku, then there's Sita, then there's Ravan. Three brilliant books. Love the books. And like you
Yeah.
mentioned, no, it's
It's
not even
really
a slow burn.
amazing.
Like, amazing books. And those three books talk about the characters in such a way that you understand their motivations, that
Yeah.
where they are coming from, right? And it almost humanizes these particular characters. Then in the fourth book, which is essentially, so those three books like join at one point, and the War of Lanka starts from there. And what I did not like about the book is, like, what you wrote about Ravan in the third book, you completely flip it. Like, now he is a different character altogether. I understand that his motivations are also written well, okay, but it's almost like before the war has started, he has almost surrendered. He knows that I'm going to lose to Ram,
Yeah.
and like I'm done and stuff like that. So that's not the fearsome, like, demon king that you think of, right? That's not the Ravan we know. That's not the
Somewhere
character development.
maybe, yeah, somewhere maybe along the line, the character, I think the plot gets lost, if I'm not wrong, and the character
Correct.
arc gets.
Correct.
If you change a character
Absolutely.
arc suddenly in the middle of a book, and if it is not well written, your readers are gonna get confused. And for Amish Tripathi, I adore that author, one of my favorite Indian author. I have read Sita, the Warrior of Mithila, and I just so she is like kind of my first warrior that I fell in love with, and I know that it's well written. So now hearing you talking about Ravan, like two different Ravans
Yeah.
that we might see is
Correct.
something that yeah, we should definitely
Correct.
question it.
Because there is a mention of Ravan in book 1, 2, and 3, which is basically his book. And you know what kind of character development I'm talking about. And this book completely flips it. So I did not even finish it. So I think that's what it is. Like, there are it's okay if you do not want to finish books. uh,
Totally
because
okay.
it does not make sense. If you are reading through a bad book just for the heck of it, it's better if you do not read it, because it does not make sense. You'll find millions of other books which actually make sense to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
I think,
True.
Kasturi, we are ready to go to the third question.
Yes, and this is one of my favorite question. I think you will also relate with this question. Is the movie adaptation better than the book?
Wow, wow, what a topic. I can make a separate podcast on this.
I know. I know. So go for it. You should take the first go.
I think it depends, right? Because there are certain books from which movies have been made, and you probably have done either. Like, you would have
Yeah.
read the book or you would have seen the movie, and you fall in love with that particular medium first. So you do not understand what the other medium is like, right? So I think it very much depends, because again, here one example, the Witcher series. I have not read the book, I have played the games, but I have also seen the series. I think the adaptation is so well done. So
Yeah,
well
I
done.
agree with that. I so agree with that.
So well
Henry
done. But
Cavill as The Witcher.
Geralt of Rivia, yeah,
My God, what an adaptation.
what an adaptation. And I think at the same time, there's also a flip side to this story, that if you look at Game of Thrones, I think they did well when they were adapting it from the books.
Yeah,
But as they progressed and went towards the last seasons,
so
I think
pathetic.
it tanked, right? And it was
Yeah,
because of that particular reason.
don't mind my language, but it was so pathetic. I if I'm not wrong, I skipped the last three episodes of the last season. Like I just, fast forwarded it because I didn't want to waste my time.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, even to adapt something, you have to be smart about it.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
You cannot just read a book and then write something on it, because this is not a movie adaptation, but there's this series called the Off Campus series. Their first
Yes.
season recently launched in on Amazon. So when
Yep.
I
Yeah.
was reading the book, I was amazed because this is one
Hmm.
of my favorite like quick read. And then when I saw the series, I was actually impressed because they not actually adapted everything that was in the first book. So the first book follows Hannah and Garrett, and their storyline, it is a complete completion in the first book itself. But the the screenwriter and the director, they made sure that their story continues in second book as well, in the second season as well. So the first season, it covered the half of it, and then they'll continue it and they also added something of their own imagination, like how Hannah as a character will grow or how Garrett as a character will grow. So you have to be also smart about it. But my all-time favorite book adaptation will be Lord of the Ring. I just re-watched the Lord of the Ring series, and I'm always amazed. Maybe it was my 52nd time watching the movie, and I just fell in love with it again and again. Very well adapted and adapted. Sorry, what is adapted? Very well adapted. And I somewhere feel like we should actually, learn something from that adaptation as well. And and to adapt a book in those years, and the animation and the graphic adaptation. It was
Yeah, yeah.
amazing. Everything
It
was
is. It
amazing.
is
I think you'll
actually,
agree.
the sets are made of thermocol. If you would believe it,
Exactly. I
the
mean,
sets
it
are
was
made
so
of thermocol.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
It's amazing.
then and then there is a book called the My Oxford Year. I actually loved the book, but the movie adaptation was so boring. I did not complete the movie. I was like, okay, I have this world in my mind was that already exists regarding the book. I am not going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
spoil it. So the
Absolutely. You think of that person as some
yeah,
different character,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, so this we follow this girl who goes to London to study a year in Oxford, and then then she meets this professor, and then everything happens accordingly. But see, the depiction of the Oxford, university is amazing.
Hmm.
It's shown beautifully, but they messed up the adaptation. Like
I think yes.
everything, did not like it at all.
Some adaptations are very sucky. Like if I have to give you one example now, again a very controversial controversial opinion, but we all know about the movie Slumdog Millionaire. It's taken from
Yeah.
the book Q&A. If you read the book Q&A, much better than the Slumdog Millionaire movie. Again, there's I am very sorry, but I think I'm mistaking the name of the books. I think it's five suspects or six suspects. So there's a book, okay, and
Okay.
so it's basically murder at a party, six people who are thought of, like, who have reasons to kill this particular person,
Mhm.
okay. So that's the entire plot, and there's a series, I think it's on Amazon Prime or Hotstar, I'm not sure, but again does not do justice at all, because the way the book is written also, no, uh, it's very gritty, but this one is very very vanilla, and you do not absolutely enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
And I think when you talked about Lord of the Rings, it makes so much sense, because when you write about anything, you can write XYZ things. You're just putting pen to paper. But when
Yeah.
you're making it, you have to actually show the grandeur of the palaces,
Yeah.
the way the characters are. So I think great job. I think some people do a really good job at adapting it, and some people just are very sucky when it comes to
Yeah.
adapting it. I think that's my opinion. What do you think?
I think also it's because if a series is actually very famous, if a book series is actually very famous, everyone goes to get the rights for it. Like they're gonna adapt it. If you see recent news, you're gonna see Amazon has been taking all the they have been making so many movies out of books, and it's actually exciting for a book reader, but also at the same time. Um, I can give a perfect example. So there is this book called The Love Hypothesis by
Hmm.
Ailey Hazelwood. It is coming to the movies in September. Really excited for the book. And when you see the characters, both the actor and the actress, I forgot the name. I think it's Lily Reinhardt and Tom Batman. I love them as the character who are in the Love Hypothesis. I can just imagine that these people are gonna fit to your imagination. So it's also an adaptation. Is it one of the main essence is if you are selecting the right person to play that role. I think
Correct.
you'll also agree with that. It's
Correct.
very important, or else because if you see the Witcher series, and I think after it's up to season three that Henry Cavill
Henry
is there,
Cavill is there.
and then the other
Of someone which we do not like.
yes, and the other actor who should not be named on the podcast, he took over, and I stopped watching it because in my
Yeah.
head it is always Henry Cavill, and I don't want to spoil it. I'm
No,
very
I think
peculiar when it comes to considering a character, and I cannot imagine anyone else playing Geralt than Henry Cavill. I cannot.
so. I think it depends. Very honestly, I think the answer depends on how well you adapt it,
Yeah,
because even the Jurassic Park movies are from a book, but most of the people have seen the movie and they really love it. So,
yeah,
Kasturi, let's move on
true.
to the next question.
Okay, so coming back to our next question, which is, are classics overrated? You want to take the first
I
go
I
because
I,
I
I
think
will.
I will take it second. Yeah, go for it.
I will. I will. I don't think so, because first of all, not an expert on this particular genre of
Yeah,
books. For me, a classic would probably be Sherlock Holmes, uh, The Three Musketeers, uh, Tom Sawyer, Uncle Tom's Cabin, books like that, right? And see, I don't think they are overrated, because most of these books I found at the correct time in my life, and
yeah,
it made sense to me. Like when I was a toddler, and probably, initial years of my adolescence, I found the Tom Sawyer book, and it made quite a lot of sense. Okay. So I could understand his motivations, and so I could relate to it. So I think I related quite a lot with these when I started off. I definitely did not start it off with a classic, and I think a lot of people
me
do that.
neither.
They will. I have seen a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people who will say they are into Pride and Prejudice, but they cannot say prejudice. So I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
know, right? I know. Yeah, but
And I think it does not make sense. It does not make sense. So I don't think classics are overrated, but again,
no,
I have very limited knowledge on this particular subject. So over to you. You read a lot of them, so over to you.
I'll not call myself like a reader of classic novel because again, limited knowledge about it, but I do consider classics to be a great way to learn many things. I mean, I have met people who, they like conversation regarding doing a conversation regarding the classic novels. But when you talk to them about, like, giving you an example, I if I'm not sure if you have read Dostoevsky, but they commit that they have read Dostoevsky or they have read Tolstoy, but when you go and try to converse with them, they fumble, and then you know that okay, this is just a way of showing yourself as an intelligent person, because
Yeah,
apparently reading
yeah,
classics are a way of showing off yourself as an intelligent human being.
correct,
And
correct.
whenever someone talks about classics, they always use this common word called masterpiece.
Yes,
And I'm not even sure they know what masterpiece is, because if you have read Dostoevsky, you'll know what masterpiece is. And
correct.
when you know where his books are coming from and the story of him as a person, you will know that that reflects in his book. Even the recent movie that the book that was adapted in a movie by Christopher Nolan, The Odyssey. If you read, what amazes me is that it's a poem by
Yeah,
Homer,
yeah, yeah.
and that poem was made to a movie. And that is the level of I'm not sure if I'm using the correct word, but the right way of achieving the knowledge from a poem and making it to a movie. And even through the poem, you have to make people understand what he's talking about.
Yes, yes,
I think, and again, you already mentioned Sherlock Holmes. Classics are not just about writers like Tolstoy or Jane Austen. Amazing writer, one of my favorite writer. Her books, be it Pride and Prejudice. If you read the book, you know what is she's trying to convey it, like, to the readers. So if you want to be intelligent according to the readers, you should definitely explore classics. But as a first reader, we already mentioned this on our first episode, that if you are a new reader, don't go for classics.
yeah,
Start with
yeah.
something very light, and then finally, when you find your correct genre, you can go and explore the classic.
Correct. So I think classics are a testament to the time that has passed.
Yeah.
So if you are very young and you have just started off with reading, probably pick up a fast-paced one that aligns more with the
Yes.
current world.
Yeah.
Don't go into
Yeah.
that part of the story because you'll not understand things.
Not understand. True. Very correct. All right. I think we can go to our next question. That's the second last question. It
Yes.
is it is does a book need to have a relatable main character to be good?
What a question. I want you to take this first and then I'll go.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're reading a book and if it is not connecting with you as a person, I don't think you'll actually get the grasp of it. Because I'll give you an example. There's this book called Mile High by Liz Stomford. The character in that book, TV, there has never been a character that I related so much than her. Her journey with body image, her journey with people judging her in every step of her life. When you read it and when you relate it, everything she does, or thing she did, and everything she's going to do in the future, you will be able to relate to it, and you will be able to understand that what the character went through and try to implement it in your life as well. And one of my favorite book, I'll take a reference here, is A Court of Silver Flames. Nesta as a character, many of the women or many of the people or the reader, they don't like Nesta as a character because of her initial behavior in the books. But when you will read the fifth book in the Akotar series, you will know that where this woman is coming from, how her everything she does is framed by her past.
Mm, mm.
And it is not like a people cannot, like, if someone cannot change. You can definitely change when you have the right circle, or when you have the right person in your life. But also, it is very important for you to have a similarity to the characters that you are reading. And I like to give one more example. I'm reading this novel called Assistant to the Villain series by Hannah Nicole. The character there, the villain, everyone calls him. He is someone who is a gray character, I would say, because his love for violence is amazingly written, but also his protectiveness towards the character, towards his family, like his found family, is amazingly written. I mean, even though he's the villain of the series, it is said as the villain of the series, but the writer will make you fall in love with the character, because
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
because of whatever, a character doesn't become a character just on a whim. It is because of like the character's past. He is,
Hmm.
because of that he is this, and it
Great.
is very well. The character arc is very well in this series, and you should definitely check it out. Over to you.
Great. No, I very honestly think, apart from what you have just said, and I think I quite agree with this. You also have to relate to the inherent messaging of the book. I think that's also more important than the characters. I'll give you an
Yeah,
example, and this is a slightly offbeat example. Like even graphic novels are books, right? So you would probably relate with a Superman, but you would not relate with a Batman, right? Because either you have not gone through those things, or you are not that rich.
yeah,
So you might not relate with him, but it still makes sense, and people still love that character. Why? Because of the way the books are written, the novels are written, and it's more like good triumphs over evil, and that's the inherent messaging of the book. So I think it's, if you associate yourself with that particular messaging and you relate to it, that is something that has happened in your life, I think then you begin to like
yeah.
that book.
Exactly. I
Not
was just about to
much
say that.
character. Yeah, yeah, it is not much about the character, because again, like we mentioned, and we are talking about Henry Cavill quite a lot, but even in the Witcher series, right, the books, the games, the TV series, anything, you do not relate with the Witcher, because it's weird if you do, but you relate to the story, you understand why things are
Also, you
happening,
you
right?
relate to, okay, you relate to that part where Geralt,
His
Ciri,
daughter,
yes,
right? Huh,
yes, his daughter.
huh,
He's not his real daughter, but the
yeah,
father-daughter relationship that was shown in the book, or written in the book, or shown in the series, it's something you will relate. Me being a daddy's girl, I know that I'll definitely relate to it. His protectiveness toward his daughter is something, and also, don't you think that a book, you will relate with a book according to your mood. Like if you're
correct,
going through a tough time and I ask you to read a rom-com, you will not relate to it, or you will not
correct.
find it, because I tried recommending rom-coms to so many of my friends, and they're like, I don't think I'm in the mood of that.
Hmm,
And
hmm.
then I totally understand. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not the right thing, because I am someone who read a book because read a specific book because it goes with my aesthetics. Like it's raining,
Hmm.
and okay, I'm gonna pick this book because
It's the
in
mood.
my
It's the
head
mood. Yeah.
it's the mood. In your head, you can relate to the entire environment of it. So again, based on the reader and your mood, your entire relatability will depend on the character.
So I think
I'll,
that's our
yeah,
conclusion, right?
yes,
That's our
that's our conclusion.
conclusion. It's
Yeah.
more about the messaging, less about the characters. And even if
Yes.
your messaging is something that we can relate with, then I think the book can be taken up.
Yeah. Sure. The last question: is a tragic ending better than a happy one?
Whoa, this is something. This is
This is
something.
something. I will go first because
Okay, okay, okay.
okay,
Let me slightly reframe it. Let's give you three options. Okay, tragic ending, a cliffhanger, or a normal ending. What do you like? Now go.
I think I'm gonna go with the last option, like a normal ending, a happy ending. Like if you're reading a series and then at the end everyone dies, I don't want to read such books. Come on. I want my characters to be alive. I cannot disclose it, but I think I can disclose it. Come on. Everyone has read that book. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. She killed Liam, the character, in the first book, and that was unexpected. Nobody expected that was gonna die, and he was an amazing character. Come on. I wept. And I was talking about this to one of my friends, and I told her that she told me that she hasn't read the book, and I told her, please go and read it so that we can cry and yap about it together. Okay, so I'm reading this series called Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and there's this mention of a character called Sam Cortland, and I know that he's not there. He passed away, and some of the explanation has been given how he passed away. And even though I haven't read The Assassin's Blade, I know that this character would have been someone that I would have really loved. But again, he died. I don't like tragic ending. For me, it's always a happy ending. Come on, you
Do
you
you like
have to give me a
cliffhangers
happy
though?
ending.
Do you like cliffhangers?
Cliffhangers, yeah, I think I like cliffhangers, but it keeps you, it leaves you anticipating what next books is gonna. But here comes the negative side of it. If you leave it in a cliffhanger and then the book starts with something very different than you imagined,
Then you don't like.
it will disappoint you. I mean, come
Correct.
on, you were expecting something, and then something else happened.
Yeah.
No, I think debatable, but happy ending for me. Anytime, I want a happy ending.
I think for me also happy endings are good, but I do not mind cliffhangers if it finishes that particular story. Even if it's like a tragic ending, people die, okay. But does it end that loop? I'll give you an example of a book. This is my favorite book. It's called Scarecrow. It's by my favorite writer, Matthew Riley. And the book has a tragic ending. With just to divulge, so he loves someone. This particular protagonist loves someone, and she dies, but he also manages to get some kind of revenge at the end, right? But at what cost? So kind of that storyline. But it makes sense for me because it ends the story right there. It does not
Yeah,
actually stretches it, and it's
yeah,
not like he dies the end. No, that does not happen. So if that happens, I don't think it makes sense for me. Like, I'll give you another example. Again, a book which is far closer to home, a book by Amish Tripathi. It's called Secret of the Nagas. It ends on a cliffhanger, and you need to pick up the third book if you want to read more about the story. I think that's what I have. Like, that's what it is for me. You need to close the loop, otherwise you have just lost me, man.
I think there are many readers out there who actually likes endings that destroys you. I mean, if you are
Why?
reading a book, yeah, I don't know. Okay, the story is well written, then if it leaves you devastated, I think it's fine. But I'm not someone who will get what they want to tell us. I mean, if it leaves you weeping and weeping and weeping, I am
Does
not
not make
sure I'm
sense.
gonna. No, does not make sense. A book
Yeah.
has to give you a wholesome experience
But
to
I
know that
also
it's a
think when
good
you're
book.
talking about this, no, I kind of also felt that it's also about that particular thing, like what kind of mood you are in. So if you are, let's just say, in a not so good place, you would probably relate more with a book that has like a not so good ending, right?
Not so good
So it's
ending. Yeah.
it's it's about that relatability also. I think that way it makes sense, but we personally do not like it.
No. No, we don't. No, we don't.
So, guys, that was our take on the most trending questions about books on the internet. Hope you enjoyed it. Do let us know in the comments what were your answers to those questions. It will be very fun. If you
Yeah.
want, we will also read out the best answers that we get. It'll be really, really fun. Again, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. We always have a great time when we talk to each other about books and we geek out. And you will see that, like, I do not edit much. We do not edit out much as well. So, what you see is the raw form. So, again, thank you so much for watching us. Thank you. Thanks a lot.